Okay, in this video, I am going to explain what are the different lathe operations we are going to perform on lathe machine. Now let us see the first operation is the facing. So in the facing, now see this is the chuck and we fix the job in the chuck. Chuck may be 3-jaw chuck or 4-jaw chuck. You fix the job, then use the single point cutting tool. Now the job is rotating in this direction. Then the tool will come and contact here, and the feed of the tool is in this direction. The feed of the tool is perpendicular to the axis of the job. Then the required amount of the material is removed on the surface, on the face of the job. That operation is known as facing. So this entire portion of the material with the required the thickness will be removed in this operation. So this operation is known as facing operation. Next we will see the plane turning operation. So again you can fix the job in a chuck and job starts rotating, and the tool will come and contact on the top surface of the job, and for a given depth the tool will move in axial direction. We are giving the feed in axial direction to the required length of the job. Then you can perform the plane turning operation. So the plane turning operation is used to reduce the diameter of the workpiece from the raw material diameter to the required diameter of the job. In that case, we are using the plane turning operation. So entire length, whatever the length is specified, entire length the material is removed with the required diameter. We are using this plane turning operation. Next, step turning. You want to make the step turning. Now you can see that this is the chuck and the job is fixed on the chuck and it starts rotating. Now we want to remove this portion of the material. Like the different steps we can perform. So that operation is known as a step turning. Now again the tool will move from this point to this point with a given depth several times to reduce the diameter from this diameter to this diameter. So this operation is known as step turning. Here also feed is giving axial direction. So we can perform the step turning to make the different steps of the workpiece. Next, taper turning. So if you want to make the taper turning, again the job is fixed on the chuck and job starts rotating. We want to make the taper turning, then you can feed the tool and the tool will move in this direction. Here in this case, the tool is fixed in a tool post and the tool post is set in a taper so that the required taper angle will be machining taking. So there is a several taper attachment methods are available. So you can choose the suitable method and you can perform taper turning. So whenever the job is required to reduce the diameter on either side in different diameters, then you can perform this taper turning operation. Next, fifth is the chompering. Now you can see that at the end of the job, it's not a sharp corner. You can perform some material you can remove in this fashion. That operation is known as chompering. Again, the tool will fed on the edge of the workpiece. So to require the chomper length, the chompering operation will be performed. Generally, these operations are performed at the after completion of the job in order to reduce the sharp edges at different steps. The sharp edges we have to modify using this chompering so that it will save the tool and without any the damage to the either the operator or the mechanical elements. So we are performing this operation. This is known as a chompering operation. The feed is also in axial direction for this chompering operation also. Next is the knurling. So whenever on the top surface we want to make some impression in order to increase the friction. So see that some of the handles are providing the specified design on the top in order to increase the friction. So without any losing the plane surfaces, in those cases we are operating this tool to perform the required impression on the surface of the workpiece. That is known as knurling operation. Now let us see the realize the knurling operation. This is the knurl tool. Now once your entire tool will impress on the surface of the workpiece, and whatever the design is there on the knurl tool, that will be impressed on the workpiece. So this is you are giving this also the feed in axial direction. How much length you want to perform this design on the surface of the workpiece, then you can perform this knurling operation. And also you can see that here the workpiece is fixed and workpiece starts rotating, and the feed direction of the tool, and this is the tool, this is the knurl tool. That same impression will be obtained on the surface of the workpiece. For more illustration, I explained one more figure and explain. I think we cleared how the impression is taking place on the surface of the workpiece. That operation is known as a knurling operation. Next, grooving. At particular specified length, we want to reduce the diameter of the workpiece with a specified length, that is known as a grooving operation. Now you can see that from this diameter to this diameter, only this portion we want to reduce, then this operation is known as grooving operation. There is a specified groove tools are used, and this tool is used to move in this direction. Okay, that the tool will move in perpendicular direction, then the feed will give in perpendicular direction up to the required the diameter, then it will move along the axial direction up to the required width of the groove, so that the groove operation can be performed. So whenever at intermediate places some amount of the material is removed on the workpiece, then you can use this grooving tool to perform the grooving operation. Next, thread cutting. So in order to make the threads outside, now you can see that this is the workpiece, it's fixed on the chuck, and you are performing this the turning tool to make the threading. Here this diameter of the workpiece and length of the thread portion is up to certain portion you can length, and for specifying the pitch, how much pitch you want, you can specify. Accordingly you can set the carriage devices and you can perform the threading operation. So here once the tool starts rotating, then from start here it will move in helical way, in helical groove will be cut. Number of times you can perform, so that the depth will be obtained in that. Okay, let one pass, second pass, third pass, in each pass it will go in the same groove designed by the pitch. Okay, that operation is known as threading operation. Here for this tool also feeding is giving axial directions. Only depth will give in the diametrical direction, but feed will give in axial direction. Up to this particular length, the threading operation can be performed. Next, forming. So if you want to required on the surface a specified shape, now I want this shape of the groove. If you see that earlier the groove turning is a plane, but I want certain the surface, certain shape of the profile, then you can use the forming tool. Now you can choose that the specified forming tool. This forming tool is used to perform the forming operations. Now you can see that the job is fixed on the chuck, and other end is fixed on the dead center, which is supported on the tailstock, and workpiece starts rotating and the forming tool is fed. And what is the shape of the forming tool? In the same shape is obtained on the surface of the workpiece with the required depth. That operation is known as forming operation. Next, drilling. So you can able to perform the drilling operations on also lathe machine. Whenever the job is fixed on the chuck and other and the tailstock, you can see that in the tailstock you can fix the drill bit, and you can move this tailstock axially, and it will go, the drill bit will here the drill bit is fixed, it's not rotating, only the workpiece is rotating, and drill bit is feeding against the rotating workpiece in axial direction, so that the drilling operations can be performed. Now you can see that the drill bit will goes inside, and the drilling whatever the diameter of the drill you can choose, and the diameter of the hole will be performed in axial directions. So this is so the drilling operations also can perform on the lathe machines. Next, boring. So what is the need of boring? So boring is used to enlarge the already drilled hole. Now you can see that already this is the drilled hole. Now we want to enlarge the hole because the required the diameter of the drill bits are not available. In those cases you can prefer this boring tool to make it the required size of the hole. So the required size may not be available the standard drill bits, then you can use the boring tool to enlarge the hole up to the required length. So in that case we are using this boring tool to perform the, or you can enlarge the already drilled hole. That operation is known as boring. Next, reaming. So the reaming is used mainly to finish the already drilled hole. So reaming tool is used to make the fine finish of the hole. That is because already drilled hole, it may not be that much of the smoothness is obtained. So for getting the smoothness, you are using the reamer. So reamer is only the machining the fine, the small amount of the material only removed. It is mainly used for finishing operations. Tapping. So the tapping is already drilled hole. We want to make internal thread. Then you can use the tapping tool to make the internal thread. Already drilled hole. Here you can see that this is the workpiece that is fixed on the chuck, and using the drill bit and the tailstock and make the drill first. Then you can use this tapping tool to rotate this tapping tool on this workpiece, so that what thread is specified on the tapping tool, same thread will be machined on the workpiece. So internal threading operation can be performed using this tapping tool. So this is known as a tapping operation. Next, internal thread cutting. Now you can use this the specified tool to make the internal thread cutting, like how you can perform the external thread cutting. Similar way you can perform the internal thread cutting. Okay, so these are the few operations we can perform on the lathe machine. I hope everyone understand what are the different operations can be performed on lathe machine.